Alok is one of the best players when it comes to knowledge about Russia. I invited him to share some of it and play through a few rounds. These are the highlights from the stream, and we will look at both basics and some more advanced knowledge. All the resources we will talk about are in the video description, as well as links to my guest. Make sure to give him a follow, as you can learn a lot from Alok's content as well. And now have fun with this video. What would you say? What kind of things could people look at if they want to get into Russia?
The first thing that you can look at is the map, which I sent you before this. So here on this map, you basically have 3 types and where they grow in Russia. The main thing to get out from this map is, of course, the big area of like yellowish stuff on the east. Yeah, that whole thing, that is the area where the Siberian larches grow. And they are quite useful for guessing. Like if you see them, you will know that you are in Siberia, and usually like eastern Siberia. Yeah, you click there and there must be there. Yeah, that's what they are.
This one, right?
Yeah, those older ones, those. So basically they have a unique look. You can see through them more than you can see through, for example, pines and firs and other coniferous trees. Like they have thin needles, and they also shed their needles in the winter. This is like some spring/summer where the needles are like bright green. They've just grown or something like that. In the southwest, for example, that small gray area near Krasnodar, those are, so this map only shows the forests. This map doesn't show like, I don't know, random trees all around.
Yeah.
That area there is area with oak trees. Oak trees can also be found in the far east of Russia there. That can be a useful tell for those areas, and those oak trees basically grow a bit more southern than these other ones. And they can also be found more northern in like Krasnodar area, Rostov area, but they don't form forests there, but they are planted on the side of the road.
Makes sense, yeah.
Then next thing that which is not on this map is also for southwestern Russia, that is the fruit trees, like apple trees, cherry trees, or I don't know, all kinds of fruit trees. They can be found mostly in southwestern Russia because that's the most southern region of Russia, I think. They grow up to a certain extent more north, and maybe you can find some even like, I don't know, area of Voronezh or something like that, or Orenburg. As you can see, as you go more north, you start to get pines and birches. The pines are orange color, and the birches are light blue. That's basically, if you see birches and pines, you are most probably not south of that line, Kursk, Voronezh, north of Saratov. Okay, next one then that we can talk about is the spruce tree. As you can see, that pink huge area there, they're mostly found around there, but you can see they are pretty random, so you can find them even a bit in Siberia and a bit near like Murmansk. But if you see fir trees, and a lot of them like forming forests and all around, that's the most probable area that you're gonna be. But again, don't just go blindly into it. The most dominant area with the pines in the west is the one near Finland. Yeah, that's worth mentioning as well. And then you also have birches in the north, so they grow all throughout the area. So birches, pines, and spruces are pretty much mixed up in those areas.
Yeah.
And then if you look more east, you can see that there are, of course, birches there as well. But there is a difference in the eastern birches from the western ones. This has these useful things.
Oh yeah,
that aren't on that map. It's my landscape vegetation guide. Yeah, you have something about Siberian birches is that they look a bit different in the east and in the west. So they basically form large patches, and they look more like lush and unruly than those in the west. And how they grow is that multiple trunks start basically from the same point, as you can see there, for example. Yeah, yeah, that is the thing with Siberian birches. And you also have near the Baikal Lake that pin. Siberian pines can also look like a bit different in the east because like of the extreme cold. It's just due to where they grow, like the conditions where they grow.
Mm.
They can look more unruly, like less tall than in the west where they're like tall and slim. Here they're a bit more wide, maybe with some branches going twisting here and there, and even the trunks are twisting because like when extreme cold hits during some years, the trunks can twist in one or the other side. We can go through all the other pins which are in Russia, I guess.
Sure. Let's start here.
Okay, this is called popularly called Moscow cabbage or Kirov cabbage. It's Sosnovsky Shodweed. They've spread, as you can see on that map, quite a bit. Okay, then, yeah, this concerns the coverage, and that is that when they were taking Gen 4 coverage, they started in southwestern Russia, and they started in winter, like February or even January, I don't know.
Mm.
And basically, all the coverage in southwestern Russia, so up until like Voronezh, Saratov, all of that is basically winter coverage, Gen 4. And the more you go north, it becomes then spring, and then when you go like east and west, it slowly becomes summer, and then in Siberia it's also summer. So
Yeah, it's super useful to know like Gen 4 winter.
yeah, that's very useful thing to know. Yeah, we have Chernozem, which is basically black earth. It's the most fertile earth you can find,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be found around Krasnodar. Of course, that area is very agricultural, but it can also be found more north, ranging from Belgorod, Voronezh, Tambov. That area is actually called the Black Earth region. You can even like, if you Google it, on it will a Wikipedia page will come up, and it will you will see what there are 6 oblasts in that region. So yeah, that's for the
Mm-hmm.
Black Earth where it's mostly found, but it can found in other places, so don't get baited. Okay, Chelyabinsk Lakes. So the area near the border of Kazakhstan, which encompasses the oblasts of Chelyabinsk, Kurgan, Omsk, and western Novosibirsk and western Altai Krai, that whole area is flat, and then there are just lakes all around, like which probably stayed from I don't know some period, and they're basically circular. That's probably the only area in Russia with those exact lakes. And then you have the Surgut sand. Surgut sandy soil. So the area around Surgut basically has a lot of really sandy soil, by which you can recognize it. Basically, look by the roads. If it's really sandy like this, it's most probably Surgut. This whole area is like everywhere sandy soil near Surgut, and like Buryatia can have, but in Buryatia the sand is a bit different color. It's more orange than this is just white sand.
Mm-hmm.
The area around Krasnoyarsk is actually quite hilly, like even the city itself has hills around, so maybe it can come in useful sometimes, although that's not the only hilly area in Russia. Basically, the hilliest areas in Russia are the Caucasus down in the southwest, and then we have the Urals. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Urals. And then you have the Altai, which is south of the pin you clicked. That yeah, those there are a lot of mountains there, but there are also mountains up in Buryatia near the lake Baikal. There are some even in Murmansk. There are mountains then near Vladivostok, and yeah, Krasnoyarsk can have some hilly mountain areas. So yeah, there are a lot of random hilly or mountainous areas all around, but the main ones are basically Caucasus and the Urals and the Altai. Those three are the main.
Yeah, and I
And of
guess
course,
over here,
that's
like,
east. Oh yeah, Kamchatka has volcanoes. So
yeah.
if you see volcanoes in Russia, they're pretty easily recognizable because they are basically cone shaped as cones. They're like spiky top and coney around. It's basically Kamchatka. If you see that, there's been a lot of huge wildfires in Siberia while Google was driving last year. So the Mirny, the road heading to Mirny and all around Mirny has really smoky coverage, but it's not smoky coverage is not only found there. It can be found south of Ulan-Ude in Buryatia, for example, there, and it can also be found on the roads around Magadan.
So
It's
here, kind
between,
of,
yeah,
right?
there,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's where the most smoky coverage is found. Oh yeah, this is a very specific area that can be easily recognized, and that is the plains around a bit east of Chita can look like the Windows wallpaper basically. So it's just short grass and green short grass and hilliness around. Yeah, those are the Primorsky Krai forests. Once you see them, you will know it's Primorsky Krai. It's even like overcast coverage there, but yeah, you see just very thick forests of oaks and I don't know what other exactly species. They are like deciduous, not coniferous trees, usually in that area. And it's also a hilly area and maybe dirt roads and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also click on that pin in northern Japan. Okay, that's the famous Hokkaido cabbage, which also grows in southern parts of Sakhalin, which is that island in Russia. And basically, Hokkaido cabbage looks like it has these huge leaves. You can see it usually by the side of the road. So if you see them, you are like 199.999% in Sakhalin. Yeah, something which is not here is actually the cars. So Far East Russia basically imported most of its cars from Japan, and Japan is left driving country. And so a lot of their cars having their driving wheels on the right side, which is of course for left drive. Yeah, so basically you can find them up to Novosibirsk, but more rarely. You can find them often up to Chita or Ulan-Ude, Irkutsk,
Yeah. Okay.
from Vladivostok to there, from Sakhalin. Yeah, basically.
All right.
So yeah, I think that basically covers
That's plenty, yeah, for
a
sure.
lot of really many matters you have there.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put this map in the video description as well as all the other resources we talked about and will talk about. But yeah, this map is not only on Russia, but it's just a great map
Yeah,
for
it's a
all
world
kind
map
of
with tons
vegetation.
of tips.
Yeah. What would you say? How important is it to know Cyrillic if you wanna get good at Russia?
For example, for no moving, it's less important. Of course, for moving, you need to know Cyrillic.
Yeah.
But even for no moving, if you see some signs with useful info, you will need. But Cyrillic is really like easy to. It's not hard to learn at all for Latin speakers, I guess, because it's quite similar to Latin and just has some different letters which you can learn.
Yeah.
And then you just need to basically train yourself to read it fast, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, we can all make our guesses and then we can look at it again. So
Okay.
let's look around. Here's a flag in case you don't know the country.
Yeah.
Somewhere Samara. Okay, more south. I practiced a bit of Russia, and you know this like kind of agricultural and that kind of stuff. But I feel like kind of all of that region up to like Samara or Orenburg all looks like very similar.
Yeah, it definitely has very similar features. But I feel like one thing for like differentiate the Samara region is I think the trees on the side of the road there are smaller than down near Rostov and Krasnodar. Like I think when trees are this tall and then you have it's really flat also.
Mm-hmm.
Samara I think might be a bit more hilly.
What made you go like this region specifically?
Yeah, it's those trees on the side, like those oaks planted, tall trees, tree lines, and then that field, agricultural field, just general flatness. It's a bit, I think there is an incline that way. It's not maybe completely flat, so I thought maybe it could be Rostov as well, because Krasnodar, like northern part of Krasnodar Oblast, is usually almost like completely flat, and Rostov is a bit hilly north of the city of Rostov. So, yeah, it makes sense that it's there.
So I think one thing is the car here. We can talk about that after
Oh
the
yeah,
round
yeah,
a bit.
I forgot to mention that.
It's fine. I think it's cool that we have some stuff for the round still. And yeah, vegetation here. Okay. Oh, way more stuff. Ooh, nice one.
Oh,
nice
it
one,
was
Trooper.
actually
Just plonking, like not even on the road. Really nice. Okay, so let's talk about the car, because this is probably also pretty
so
big.
basically white car is found in Far East Russia mostly. So anywhere like on that Amur highway, except the parts which have Gen 4 now, which is the western part has Gen 4. So anywhere on that highway and the areas around that highway which are covered, like near Blagoveshchensk, and then Khabarovsk area and the road going north to Komsomolsk on Amur, and the whole Primorsky Krai, which is the region of Vladivostok. So everything east from the roundabout which goes up to Yakutsk.
Mm-hmm.
You see the roundabout north of China. Yeah,
This one.
everything east of that.
Because I actually scanned these roads yesterday, and I think actually this part up here is still black car, but going west, and then
Oh yeah,
we have
maybe
the white car going south
yeah.
from like I don't know around this region.
Maybe it starts from Blagoveshchensk. Like maybe they started from
Around,
there,
yeah.
capturing and covered that area, and then.
I think I've heard you can get the white car like near Chelyabinsk
Oh yeah,
as
there
well.
is white car in southern Chelyabinsk Oblast, so near Magnitogorsk around.
Okay, here.
So like south of Troitsk, that whole area of Chelyabinsk Oblast has of the white car.
Okay. And that's all the regions for that car.
And you can find it randomly in other areas which were covered by white car before and haven't been updated later by black cars. So there are like some, but those are small bits. These are the ones I said are the whole areas which have the white car. So you will very rarely find it in other places. So yeah, that area is extremely flat. And then we also have the larches planted and birches. Those are the larches and of course birches as well.
One thing I always look at when I learn a new country is like just coverage in general. And I think that's pretty important for Russia, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's probably a good idea. I think that's just a good tip in general, but especially for Russia, like if you want to learn a country that you, I don't know, go on Mapmaker and see like where you even have coverage and what kind of roads are covered. Maybe.
Yeah, or use this tool which I linked in chat now, because you can switch there to only show official coverage.
Okay, yeah, that's probably even better. Ooh. Area code. Okay, kind of over here. Nice guess.
Oh yeah, didn't. I went with the mountains and not with the houses. Like Caucasus itself can be drier, but more east you go, it's more dry.
Okay.
In the west, it's quite wet. And what the houses of that color, so it's like cream colored houses. I don't know, they just have, I guess it's the brick which they have, like sandstone brick or something like that. And they just have a really distinctive look from the architecture. That's the Dagestan architecture. So it's only Dagestan, like Makhachkala. That whole oblast is Dagestan.
Okay. Yeah. And we had an area code, so maybe we can talk about that as well. What kind of are
Yeah,
those
but
useful ever, or is it worth
I
learning?
personally haven't learned them because like there those first digit can be like huge areas. You can learn them easily. But if you want to learn the other ones, there are really a lot of them. It basically becomes like the US or something like that. The car plate numbers are
Yeah,
another thing.
we don't see them here, but I can
Yeah,
probably
we don't,
show a
but
picture.
usually sometimes they are on the back of some old trucks or old vans. You can find those numbers. But again, they're also not really easy to learn. They go both alphabetically and by the type of subdivision, like
Okay.
republics and oblasts and autonomous okrugs, etc. They are painted basically on the back of certain trucks and vans. They can be painted. That's where you mostly see them because the plates are blurred.
What about these pipes? Like I know they are kind of a Russian thing, but are they in all of Russia, or is it maybe more of a Western thing, or I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think those pipes are mostly southern Russia or the area also near Kazakhstan. Like southern Russia, the area near Kazakhstan, Rostov.
Oh, more mountains.
Yeah.
Okay, not. Yeah, I guess kind of. Nice, you got the road there.
I got it. I got the road right because of the orientation, going north, east, southwest, and the other roads in the area go northwest, southeast. Yeah, the mountains here are like really tall, but so are in the Caucasus. Urals has mostly a bit less sharp and tall mountains. But I don't know, just general look. I've seen this road a lot of times.
Yeah.
I've seen like Caucasus, and this looks like more colder than the Caucasus. Caucasus is, of course, looks more warm because the climate there is warmer. Let's see the next one.
Okay. Yeah, some wipes first. All right. All the way in the west.
I thought actually, but I already sent a guess. Because it looked very much like the Baltics, I should have sent a bit closer, but anyway. But when you see a dirt road covered, because some oblasts in Russia have full coverage, while other oblasts have partial coverage. And Leningrad Oblast, like the area around St. Petersburg, has full coverage, so it even covers smaller like dirt roads and stuff.
Okay. Some wipes. I don't know. I think poles are pretty useless, but maybe. Those are the kind of trees here.
Poles, I don't think they are useful.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that,
never...
but yeah, I don't really know where. I'm just gonna go here. Ah, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Now we can talk about it. That's good. I always forget that exists, honestly. Always it makes sense, and once I see it, it makes a lot of sense. But I always forget it exists.
First of all, is this autumn/winter coverage, which whole Kaliningrad is covered with it, and then you see these trees planted by the side of the road. Those are actually also Kaliningrad thing because Kaliningrad wasn't always Russian. It's only, I don't know from when. It was like Second World War, or I don't know. And Poland, for example, has those trees planted on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And I think it probably goes back, I don't know, maybe to Prussian times or something like that, when they started doing that, planting those trees. So yeah, I think Kaliningrad is the only place in Russia which has trees like so close to the road, like trees growing right on the side of the road. And you see this marshiness, like you have a lot of reeds and grasses growing all around.
Yeah.
That is more specific, more unique to the northern parts, and not like that far south in Russia where you guessed, for example. Like that, those parts have mostly, I guess, fields around.
Nice.
And also another meta for Kaliningrad, which we don't see here, is that you get a lot of random blurs, like in Lithuania. If you know random blurs in Lithuania, you get them in Kaliningrad as well.
Okay. General vibes here. Here. Okay, I wasn't terrible. Oh, wow.
Nice.
Everyone on this same kind of highway here.
Yeah, it looked quite much like Homs, but that whole area is similar, as I said, those lakes and flat. So yeah, this is basically a lot of open space and flat, and there are some patches of small forests of birch and something else lying around. That's basically that area of like from Chelyabinsk, Kurgan, southern Tyumen, Omsk, Novosibirsk, eastern and western Altai Krai, where it was there.
Yeah. Okay, this one looks more interesting again, maybe.
Yeah, this one looks really interesting.
Interesting trees here. I don't know. Was actually, wow. The road kind of looked like that, I guess, but
We actually might have had the white car there.
yeah, I wasn't sure.
And then those trees looked like those in the Far East, but I know I didn't have the courage to go there because those look a bit weird. They are those like Far Eastern Asian trees.
Okay.
But this being on Kamchatka is very surprising.
There are like a couple of like these kind of roads that you maybe, I don't know, could have a look at. I don't know. What would you say? Is it worth like scanning some of these roads, like actually like going here and looking at locations and stuff for like these kind of roads that are like way out here, so you can recognize them?
I think it is worth to an extent. Like you can see some specific things that are only for that. Like it's important to know how those big roads look, like that Amur Highway, or the road going to Yakutsk and Mirny and Magadan, and those in the west as well. So yeah.
Probably not useful, but maybe.
I just said village something.
Okay.
It's not a name.
Go near Moscow here or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So just basically this summer, Gen 4. And this is a pretty tiny roads in Moscow Oblast, of course, like everything is covered. And it just looked so generic, like birches, spruces.
And
like
those spruces?
Exactly, yeah. It looked exactly like that there. Those are spruces, and these ones behind, I'm not sure.
The vibes. Over here. Okay.
Well, yeah, basically Gen 4 winter. And then do you see those trees in the distance planted?
These
No, those on the left.
over here.
Yeah, those on the right.
Okay.
Those are what we call sometimes Kursk trees. But it's winter here, so they don't have leaves. But they're like those really tall, I don't know what they are, like oaks or something similar. And usually Kursk has those trees planted. Like different regions of Russia may have a bit of a different species
Mm-hmm.
planted by the side of the road, and that is the Kursk one. Yeah, I guess this is a bit like, maybe it's a bit hilly, but Belgorod is basically a hilly, and this is close to Belgorod.
Also, one thing we don't really, it doesn't really, we don't have Gen 3 here, but we always talk about seasonal coverage. Is there also seasonal kind of meta or like regions in Gen 3?
Yeah, there's like deep winter Gen 3 near Novosibirsk.
Mm-hmm.
It has like snow. There's some even winter more east near Vanino.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is winter there, and then there is one road near Altai Krai, in Altai Krai and Altai Republic, road leading to Zumin there. Artibash, north end of your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. That road.
Okay.
Roads there are autumn, and then there is some autumn north of of Yekaterinburg. Yeah, there, those roads.
Okay.
And in the west, there are a few areas with autumn. Tambov has autumn, for example. Not Tambov, Tula has a lot of autumn slash winter, like October coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bryansk has like near autumn, like September. So it's also autumn, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there is Yaroslav for example, Spring Gen 3. It's north of Moscow. Yaroslav.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are other like small bits all around. I don't now remember
Okay.
everything. I know that the area around Tomsk, I've just remembered that, has usually you can see a bit of the rear reflector of the car, and it's a bit reddish.
Mm.
It can be useful sometimes to recognize that area, but it's not the only area with that. But that area, I think, if it looks like it's there and then you see that, it's gonna be useful.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've covered a lot. Is there anything we should look at?
I think we've covered pretty much all kinds of things that like are of importance, and
Yeah.
I don't I don't know. I mean, there's probably like some really specific things that maybe come up in certain rounds, but I think I
Yeah.
can't think of anything right now.
Or
I think
would you say, like, as a final thought, what is like a good way to get into Russia and start getting better at Russia? Is it just playing a lot?
yeah,
Or
just play it, and you need to learn also general look. Like I can tell you like some of these metas and stuff, but just by playing yourself, you will see how generally the areas look, and maybe even develop some your mechanisms in your
hmm,
brain mind to guess correctly in those areas that you've seen a lot,
yeah,
and get the vibes and see the coverage. And I don't know, playing is the best thing for everything, like practicing GeoGuessr, and just because you need for yourself to be there, and it's not these like metas help, but yeah, playing is God.